Hey y'all, Gary here with Tennessee Stands. Hey, I want to recap really quickly some things that went down yesterday in the K-12 Subcommittee over the school choice bill, and that's HB. It used to be HB 2468. We want to make sure that everyone gets clarity on this in Tennessee. That bill number has changed. All right, they moved the amendment to another caption bill. So just everyone tracking school choice right now, you need to understand that in the House, that's HB 1183, HB 1183. All right, that bill was heard last night beginning at 4:30. It was about a 2-hour hearing in the K-12 Subcommittee. And what I want to talk about to sort of just get through something really quick, you probably don't want to watch a 45-minute video. So I'm going to stick, I've said a lot about school choice. On this video, I want to stick to some procedural things that happen in committee because there's some really important things that you need to understand as to how the vote was taken and why. First thing is, I want to play this clip on a member of the subcommittee calling for roll call votes. Take a listen.
But at first, I'd like to ask for a roll call vote on this.
Sorry. Noted.
Thank you.
All right, so there's a bunch of stuff going on right now on Twitter, a bunch of things being posted by, what seems to be by many a conservative group called Americans for Prosperity. The same conservative group, by the way, that pays people $20 an hour to knock on doors for Nikki Haley, but whatever. So their sentiment is, oh yeah, school choice passed and it's so great because look at how transparent Republicans wanted to be. We even took a roll call vote and we did all of these great things and school choice passed, yay, and those who are against it should be embarrassed because you lost so bad because the vote was 6-2. All right, I want to explain all of that to you in this quick little Tennessee Stands video. So listen up. As you saw in that clip, the most important thing to point out in terms of the roll call votes is that a Republican did not call for a roll call vote. All right, the roll call vote was called for by Representative Sam McKenzie, the only Democrat sitting on the committee, because God help any Republican that's going to call for a roll call vote against Governor Bill Lee's school choice bill. All right, so number one, that roll call vote was called for by a Democrat. Secondly, the rules require 2 other members of the committee. It requires a total of 3 members to force a roll call vote for a bill. Well, there were 2 other members that also made a motion for that roll call vote. You don't see them on video, unfortunately, but I just happen to be in the room. I will tell you who they are. They are Representative Brian Ritchie and Representative Todd Warner. And interestingly, another interesting point to make, neither one of those representatives voted yes on the bill. So I want to be very clear because, again, there's so much out there that says Tennessee Stands spreads misinformation, but which, if you watch us, that's up to you to determine whether or not you think I'm giving you misinformation. What I am telling you is that groups like Americans for Prosperity put out half-truths in social media, and half-truths that only support their paid position that they take on any issue, in this case, school choice. So important to close the loop on the roll call vote. It was motioned by a Democrat, and not one member of that committee that voted yes motioned to have a roll call vote. Okay, so that's an important fact in terms of the roll call vote. The next thing to note is that it was said that the vote, that the measure was defeated, or the measure passed, by a vote of 6-2. Well, let me tell you how that happened. First off, the 6 yeses, there's an extra yes to the vote that per our Tennessee Constitution should not be there. Take a look at this clip.
Point of order, or just for clarification, I've had a constituent text me since we've been in committee here, and we have a new member sitting on this committee. Could you explain why this member is sitting on this committee, please?
Thank you. The Speaker or the Speaker Pro Tem is allowed to sit in on a committee to vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
President McKenzie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The way I understand it, that the Speaker gets a seat on all these committees, not the Speaker and the Speaker Pro Tem.
Or his designee.
I
I
like
believe it
that's
is the
legal.
speaker or the speaker designee is what we're being told.
So you hear Representative Todd Warner making the point that there's an extra member of the committee that had never been seated there before. His name is Representative Pat Marsh. He's the Speaker Pro Tem. And as they're deliberating whether or not Representative Marsh can actually sit in on the committee and cast a vote in a committee of which he's not a member, it's determined by the chairman of this subcommittee, based on what someone told him, that the speaker or a designee of the speaker can sit in on any member of the House and cast a vote. And so what I want to do right now is take you to the rules of the House. Before we go to the rules of the House, I want to read to you this. It's Article 2, Section 12 of our Tennessee State Constitution, which says this: each House may determine the rules of its proceedings. Now, it goes on to say it can punish its members for disorderly behavior, blah, blah, blah. In fact, this is the provision in our Constitution where we dealt with the Tennessee Three, and the Republicans expelled the three Democrats, or expelled two of them, I should say, and all of these things. But the first part of the rule, again, of this constitutional provision, Section 12, each House may determine the rules of its proceedings. All right, so now let's go to the rules. These are the permanent rules of order of the House of Representatives in the state of Tennessee for the 113th General Assembly. So every time a General Assembly, which is every 2 years, convenes, they vote on a rule package as to how they're going to run their chamber. And in that moment, those rules are the constitutional order of the chamber. So I want to take you now to Rule 65 of this rule package. Standing committees. Now, it's important to note the title of this rule, Rule 65, standing committees. There shall be the following standing committees, each of which the Speaker and the Speaker Pro Tem shall be members, to wit. And it goes on to list the 13 standing committees of the House, one of which, number 5, is the Education Administration Committee. So we have a standing committee, Education Administration, which is the full Education Committee, and seated, the rules allow for the Speaker or the Speaker Pro Tem to be seated in that committee and to also have a vote. So the first thing to say is that the chairman of this committee was wrong and did not even understand the rules of which they were supposedly abiding by, because he thought that the speaker could designate anyone he wanted to come and sit on the committee. That is not true. It has to be either the speaker or the Speaker Pro Tem. That's point number 1. Point number 2, the Speaker Pro Tem was attending and did take a vote in the committee, but guess what? The K-12 Subcommittee is not a standing committee. It is a subcommittee. There is absolutely nothing in Rule 65 in the constitutionally approved rules of order in the 113th General Assembly that allows a speaker or a Speaker Pro Tem to sit in on and vote in a subcommittee. It doesn't exist. And what they're going to say is, I know what they're going to say. Well, Gary's just spreading misinformation, and he doesn't understand how this works. And subcommittees are part of full committees. So the speaker and since they're the same committee, the speaker and the Speaker Pro Tem can sit on the subcommittee. I'm going to tell you, I know what they're going to say, and that's emphatically false. Why is that false? Because throughout the entire rules of the House, subcommittees, ad hoc committees, joint committees, special committees, standing committees, and subcommittees are all referenced in the rules, and they're all treated differently. And subcommittees are mentioned and treated throughout the rules of the House. They are not ubiquitous with a standing committee. Again, I want to reiterate, this is incredibly important. Rule 65 only allows that the Speaker and Speaker Pro Tem sit in on and vote in a standing committee. Here's the simple point, because I always like to make really basic, simple points. I'm going to boil it all down. The vote that happened last night in the K-12 Subcommittee on school choice is unconstitutional. The Speaker Pro Tem, by no rule that I can find, has the authority, nor does the Speaker, to sit in and cast a vote on a subcommittee per the approved rules of the House of the 113th General Assembly. That vote that happened last night should be null and void. And let me just close this out by saying this. Well, it was 6-2, and they would have lost anyway. That's not true. The purpose of the Speaker Pro Tem sitting on the committee was to intimidate the committee. Let me throw up this picture real quick. Now, you wouldn't have seen this on video. I just happened to be there. And so there are a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes that the camera doesn't catch because it's not on a wide shot. And what you're seeing here is two things. One, you're seeing Pat Marsh, the Speaker Pro Tem, all the way to the left, who's sitting and ready to vote in on the committee. But what you're also seeing is Leader William Lamberth, kind of the guy that's leaned over the shoulder that looks like Sonic the Hedgehog. And he's talking in the ear of Representative Chris Hurt. Now, what this picture doesn't show is he was doing that all across the board, all the way down the committee. But what's he doing? Well, he's whipping votes. I mean, so not only is the Speaker packing the committee for votes, but you also have the Republican majority leader of the House going into the ear of all the members as the hearing has happened, whipping votes for the bill. What do you think? Is this intimidating to someone who might want to vote no on the bill, but knows if they do, they're going to be punished by leadership or by the governor, or one of their bills is going to be killed, or they're not going to get certain funds for re-election? There's a lot of things that are being said back there, and I can't propose to know what's actually being said, but I can make some suggestions. So there were 2 no votes. There were 2 present not voting. So those were also no votes. And I would speculate that those 2 men that simply voted present would have voted no had the Speaker Pro Tem not been there, because now, by the Speaker packing the votes, they know that they don't have the votes to win. And see, this is the problem. This is where the intimidation comes in. It's why the vote should be null and void. You have men and women now that already knew that we might have enough no's to win in committee. Yet the moment they put the extra vote on the committee, all of those folks know, well, we don't have the votes. We just lost. So what happens? They're either going to vote yes, or they may vote present so that they don't receive their just and due punishment from the leadership overlords of the House. Perhaps if they vote present, see, they'll still get the acceptance of the base, i.e. us, and they won't piss off leadership, so maybe their other bills still might pass. So they're voting in the middle. They're riding the line. It's important to understand this because, again, all you're hearing from conservative groups like Americans for Prosperity that knock doors for Nikki Haley is that the Republicans did a roll call vote. It was transparent, and we blew them out 6-2. The problem is that is not what happened. The Republican majority wanted no part of a roll call vote. That's not the way the roll call vote went down. And the reason there were only 2 no's is because the Speaker Pro Tem was there representing the Speaker to intimidate the other votes while the Republican majority leader of the House was walking around whipping votes. That was what really was going on behind the scenes. All right. So it's important to go beyond the tweets. It's important to go beyond the rhetoric. And those are just a couple of procedural things. So look, here's the question. Does anybody care enough to do anything about this? Does it matter? I don't know. I'm asking the question. I'm truly honest. It's an honest question here from Gary at Tennessee Stands. Does it really matter? Does it really matter to anyone that the school choice bill that passed subcommittee last night passed by an an unconstitutional vote. A vote not supported by our Constitution, a vote not supported by the rules of the House that have been voted on by the members of the Assembly. Does it matter that the Speaker completely circumvented the rules to make sure that they ram the governor's school choice bill down everybody's throat? Does that matter to anyone? I don't know. I'll leave